Alright, well I haven't given you a little Fleabay edition here for a few days, and there's a few things that have caught my eye, so I thought we'd talk about them very quickly this morning. Playing with new recording stuff, playing with new camera stuff, so I'm testing this out as we go. We look at Atlas milling machine things. There is a Atlas mill knee parts, MH6, MH70, MH15, MH46, MH17, MH18 pre-owned, 4620 with 0 bids or best offer, and 7235. Now this has been listed at least 3 times. I've seen this come back up with no victims trying to take it up. This is the parts for the production model mill like I'm putting together. I only bring this up to show what they are and to show a couple of the differences. Now, when we look at this, all of these parts are specific to the production machine, and there's no reason to be buying these. It's not worthwhile to try and convert a standard machine over to a production machine. The only reason I'm messing with it is I have acquired parts over the years, so I have pretty much I do have all of the parts that I need that I can't fabricate for a production machine. So that one, we've talked about it before, it's coming up. Anyway, we look at these. All it is the base casting, the front nut, the rack for the production portion of it, or the rod with the gear that operates the rack assembly, and then the height adjustment screw is all that's here. All of these are proprietary to the production machine. None of these parts fit on a standard mill. The differences are this boss right here, it comes out the front, which operates your elevation. On the standard machines, there's a pinion gear in here, and this boss comes out on the side at about 45 degrees here. So this is our stop screw. We're missing, these are only 2 of the stop nuts on there. There was originally 4. You don't have any of the other parts that are going to make a production machine. There's no mounting plates, there's no gibs, there's no gib screws, none of the things that you would need, that are interchangeable on another machine, which I'm sure they've been parted out and sold for on a standard mill. These are the leftover parts that nobody can use. So otherwise, this is proprietary to it. There's no reason at all to even be looking at these. So that's why it's been listed 3 or 4 times. So there's that one. Now we come on down here, and there was one that popped up 3 or 4 days ago that is a seller that's evidently building these in his shop, new parts, and this one's hitting me close to home because this is one that I just released a video on, and I'm selling on my website. New Atlas horizontal milling machine drawbar, M1-576 heat treated, brand new, $79. Buy it now plus $9.50 shipping. Now when we look at this, I just did the video on this, and let's go back and read the description very quickly here and see what he says. This replacement Atlas drawbar and spacer that has been machined to the original dimensions per the Atlas drawing M1-576. However, unlike the original, this drawbar has been heat treated for longer service life. Now, this was originally spec'd out on the Atlas drawing as made out of 1112, which I believe is just a cold roll or some sort of a mild steel alloy. And it's worked fine for years. Now I have no bone to pick with this seller. This is free enterprise. I'm all for it. So, but there's things to consider with this if you're looking at this drawbar. First picture just shows the drawbar full length, and if you notice, there's a little bit of discoloration on this end and on this end down here, and you can see it a little bit better in the other pictures. Here you can see it is pretty pronounced back here when it's there by the drawbar. And actually you can see right there it's 1112 with no heat treat. So I've historically tried to build these out of 4140 or 4142, one of the pre-hardened materials, which I think is an improvement. It's still machinable, but it is a little bit tougher, a little bit harder than just mild steel. Now the one on my original mill I built when I first got that mill because I didn't have a drawbar, and it's built out of mild steel, and it's held up fine for all of these years. So Do you need more than just that? I don't really think so, but to each his own, and if you feel this is a good option for you, then go for it. The thing that I would question, and I would want to know before I plunk down my money, is what alloy is this, and how has it been hardened? Um, is this a carbon steel, and then we've through hardened it and annealed it to proper toughness? Or is this a mild steel part, which I believe is probably more likely, and has it been case hardened with one of the compounds like casonite or cherry red? Now, if I'm doing something quick and dirty where I want a little more toughness on a case hardened part, I personally use casonite. Now, it doesn't give you a very deep case hardening skin on it, and there's some techniques to get a little more toughness or a little more hardness out of them, but it's a slight protection or a slight hardness that you're adding to the parts, and you'll see it in, it has its applications. Now, my concern is back here on the back end where the crank handle is going to tighten it down on. I don't think it's a big issue here. The problem I have would be if it's case hardened up on the thread area. In my experience, historically, it doesn't work well on threaded parts. The problem is it overheats on the tops of the threads and makes them brittle, and it just doesn't do well, and they tend to be a little bit hard, and they'll chip or crack or just shatter on the end, so you actually lose your threaded area or end up with chowdered up threads on the end where they've snapped off or broken down. So that would be my only concern. I don't know if you can take a part that's been case hardened like that on mild steel. I don't know if you can anneal it back and get a better service life out of it, or get some improvements on the properties of it, or if what you've got is what you've got, but that would be my only concern with that part. So there we go, my competition. So good deal, I like it. Other than that, I don't see a whole lot new under milling machine that catches my eyes. Here's another crank handle for the Atlas mill and shaper vise, with a 3/8 square hole. Now they're up to $129.99 and $9.50 shipping. This is from that same seller that we talked about before. Here a few months ago, he was selling these for $59 or $69, I think. And then a couple months ago, they went up to $99, and now here already I see they're up to $129.99. We talked about this in depth before. I know we decided these were a Martin manufactured crank handle, and I think if you search for them, you can find them in that $60, $70 range is about what you should be paying for them if you can source them yourself, and I think they're out there. Why he's got them up this high, I don't honestly know, unless maybe they have gotten harder to find or price may have gone up on them. That's kind of the way that is. So other than that, nothing new that we haven't talked about before. Here's some need Chipway guard covers, the 3 sheet metal guards that go on the Atlas milling machine. Parts only $54.99 and $11 shipping. Those are a sheet metal cover. We'll be building those for on the other Atlas milling machine. I'll show how to build those, and we'll get dimensions and everything off of those. Those are easy. Right below it, milling machine MFC arbor driver, $79.99 for a pre-owned one and $11 shipping. Why are we buying chowdered up used parts when we can buy new replacements that are just as good? And this one's got gunk on it. Looks like it's not corroded. It's just a bunch of oil buildup over the years. The ovaled out spanner wrench hole in it. I think my new replacements are still $59. eBay has just gotten to be, well, it has been. It's such a rip. And there's a bunch of parts where somebody else is parting stuff out. We're not going to waste a whole lot of time with me ranting and raving about this stuff today. I got more important things to do. So that's milling machine stuff. Let's quickly look at shapers. What do we got under Atlas shapers? Nothing new. Same junk. Not even going to go there. Atlas lathe. Now there was an Atlas lathe on here. Atlas lathe 12-inch 4-way tool post with 2 rockers, new listing. $75, no bids, $97.50, buy it now, free shipping. This is a production tool holder. You know, I've got one of these. Actually, I've got 2 of these for the 10-inch. The only difference between the 10 and the 12-inch is the base on them. This base is taller on the 12-inch than it is on the 10. You know, I've got one on the Atlas production lathe only because it's an Atlas production lathe and somewhat, you know, got all the production parts on it that Atlas had for the most part. That's the only reason I'd put one on, is in an application like that it's obsolete. You know, for the same money you can put a quick change tool post on, a whole lot more versatile, and you can actually get a little more clearances and by adjusting your tools and how they sit in the holders on the Atlas lathe. So you know, it looks good. I think I've looked at this one before. I think this has been listed before and it's been redone. Now there are at least a couple of the original wooden blocks that held it, so this is probably seen minimal use. Lathe carriage stops. Here's one that's on auction with 12 bids, and it's a new listing. It's up to $73 and $7 shipping. You know, the guys are trying to get 150 and 200, 250 bucks out of these. Actually, I'll probably be casting today or tomorrow. I'm going to try and get some of mine cast up. I was having shrinkage problems on my carriage stops that I want to do as a kit. I'll probably be casting some of those. I need to get that kit done and out. What else do we have? Parting out, trying to get their money out of every little part. Here once again, 9 to 12 inch lathe, upper and lower swivels, 3/8 square bolts, $9.99. You know, those are we talked about this a couple of times. Ace Hardware square headed bolts, 1 inch long, for $1 a piece. There was a lathe on here that, let's see if it's still listed. Otherwise, it's the same crap. You know, we're looking at the same crap. But there was a lathe here that someone was selling. And you know, I tend to pick on these guys. 10-12 inch lathe carriage stop, 6810, $165, buy it now. Yeah, no. I tend to kind of pick on the guys that sell these huge amounts of stuff, part out these machines and everything, and know they're ripping people off. Some of these guys that appear to just be somebody selling their lathe or selling their mill or shaper, whatever the case may be, that are just moving it on, I tend to normally not. I try and be honest about the conditions and what I think they're worth and things like that. But when you get so far out of touch or out of reality on some of these machines, then I have to point it out a little bit. And this is one, and this is the last thing I'm going to do. Then I'm going to go on my merry way for the day. A TH54 Atlas lathe. TH54 Atlas lathe built for craftsmen, sold originally at Sears, pre-owned. $3,600 or best offer, and $17.95 shipping. So let's go look at this now. And I've looked at this close up. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time. This is such a cluster that you have to point it out. Now, first picture shows the nice brown bed, shows all the rust there, shows the normal wear down this edge of the bed where it's, when it was run, you know, 100 years ago, why it wore down there. So there's our first thing. Looks like we've got at least one busted handle here from appearances. Now I could be wrong. And I can't tell. The pictures are poor at best. So we've got some bracket coming out here that I have no idea what was mounted here. We've got a furnace style drum switch mounted on its back up here on the end. And if we go to the next picture, now this is a quick change gearbox. And here's this bracket that I don't know what the deal is with that. This to me doesn't look quite right, but I don't know. We've got a switch here. We've also got a drum switch up here with looks like some Romex running out the top and everything. The switch itself doesn't appear to be actually screwed down the way it's supposed to be on the switch, so who knows what's happening inside that mess there. So we go down to this end of it, and one of the best things that I see about this whole lathe is it's got a lead screw bearing on the back end. That's one of the best things I see about this. Now it's mounted on some sort of a stand. Now this stand is obviously not an Atlas stand. It's got plates welded on here, support brackets welded to hold up the tailstock. This is somebody's junk, somebody's cluster of junk laying here. Next picture shows it from the end. Now this counter shaft, this would be what we would consider a vertical counter shaft, but that is not an Atlas counter shaft, I don't believe. I know it's not an Atlas counter shaft. It looks like it's bolted solid here, and I question what this is, and the only thing that I can really come up with is this is a lever that has been adapted some way to tension the belt. And I may be completely wrong, but that's the only thing I can figure that's going on here. And I don't know exactly how it's done. You can't tell from the pictures if the whole assembly pivots up and down. I don't know what the deal is there, but it's not anything that's even close to what it should be, you know, to what you'd want on any kind of a machine. There's a full-length view. You know, it shows this mess of a stand underneath it, this crap for a counter shaft bracket and everything. You know, this is a $400 machine if it's got free shipping on it. You know, if I was doing a yard sale or an estate sale, you should take this home for $200. So I don't know what the deal is. Anyway, I found this one amusing more than anything else. So anyway, hopefully I find it a little bit useful. Use the information here for what it's worth. You know, you get exactly what you pay for information. So anyway, hopefully you found it entertaining, useful, something. Comments or suggestions, leave them in the comments section for me below. And as always, guys, thanks for taking the time to watch.